Hi guys, I got a carburetor here for a Yamaha Road Star 1600. It's a 2000 year. It's very dirty on the outside. The bike's been sitting for at least a year in Florida. It's very dirty. Gas was really stinky and old. So first I'm going to clean the outside of the carburetor before I even start taking it apart. As far as the product we're going to be using, there's two different ones. This one I'll be using to clean the outside of the carburetor since it's so oily and nasty. This one, both of these you can get in Walmart. This one is for the internal parts of the carburetor, jets and stuff. I'll show you how that works a little bit later. This one, it's in Walmart as well, about $20. This is probably $3. You want to use rubber gloves while working with this purple cleaner because it's not very good for your skin. Just spray it like so all over the place. You don't worry about water because this carburetor is gonna get taken apart completely. So everything's gonna get dried back up. I just hate to start working on something so nasty. And I'm gonna leave this stuff sit for a minute. I'm gonna rub it with this little brush, get everything cleaned up. So in a minute I'll show you guys what it looks like after it's clean. Okay, here we go, back on the table. Much nicer to work with. We're gonna need a 3mm Allen wrench. You can use this, or you can use your regular small Allen heads. Phillips head screwdriver, 14mm wrench. First I'm gonna take the top off. Two Phillips head screws right here. Like I show you in my other videos, I like to keep everything nice and organized, so every time you take something off, try to keep it together, so you know how to put it back together. This just comes right off. You see some water, a little bit of water in here. I dried the carburetor with the air hose from my compressor, so this is just the water from washing it. Don't worry about that. Can disconnect these two wires. One is round, one is flat. You can't really put them back the wrong way. You're gonna need to move this little at 10mm. So if you don't have a deep socket, you can just use a regular socket and put it all the way down. It'll give you just enough room for the extension to grab. You don't have to take it off. You just loosen it up and you move this little bottom contact. You can move this right out of the way. Look, it's not as bad as I expected for sitting so long, but you still see this almost looks like it had a water in the gas. But you're gonna take all these jets off. The float bowl, there's 3 jets here. The float needle underneath. So got a little Phillips head right here. Don't have to take that all the way off. Just loosen it enough for the pin to slide out, and pull it out with the float needle attached. Put that aside. And we got our 3 jets. There's our idle jet. Okay, here we go. Also, what we want to take off is this part. Sometimes that could be tricky. We'll see how this one is. There's an O-ring on it, and many times what people don't realize, they change their float needle, they don't change the O-ring here, and it's leaking on the outside. So even though your float needle is good, the fuel, it's leaking on the outside of this housing. So again, Phillips We'll take that one all the way out. Put it aside. I'm going to use a needle nose to try to pull this out. Be really careful. You don't want to squeeze it, deform it. Look how easy it came out. I bet this one would have been leaking right here where the O-ring is. I'm gonna replace this O-ring and make it nice and tight. Also, I'm gonna throw this inside my carburetor cleaner, so if there's any dirt right there that would cause the float needle not to seal. Choke cable off. You need a 14 mil. Loosen that up. It just unscrews and pull it out. You don't have to really mess with it. Just want to look at it. Plus, it'll give us access to the choke opening. See, this one is not too bad, but see, it got water in there from me washing it, so it's a good idea to pull it off. So now we're gonna pull this. You can hold it down because there's a spring that's gonna try to push that cover off as you take it off. So you got here spring and the cover. Keep it all nice and neat, organized together, so you know how to put it back together. Now you're gonna pull this diaphragm off. Alright, here we go. Look, that's pretty nasty there. Also, we got some water from me washing it earlier. And I think that's it for the body. Can leave rest of it alone. You don't want to mess with the throttle position sensor. Leave that alone. Alright. Again, I can't say it enough. Keep your parts organized. As you can tell, I got my float ball with the 4 bolts for it. This is all the internal jets and parts we took off with the float needle. We got the upper diaphragm with the 2 bolts in the cover, and here the side little diaphragm with all the parts that go with it. Okay, here are the parts we want to dip in our carburetor solution, the cleaner. All the internal jets, the float needle. A lot of times I put the float ball in there, but since this one it's pretty clean looking, I can just clean that outside. Throw your parts in there and put it back. Depending on how dirty everything is, this stuff, it's really pretty clean looking, so I'm not gonna leave it for long, maybe half an hour. While I'm waiting for my solution to clean my jets, I'm gonna clean this body. You see all this buildup? I can either take it back outside and use a little bit more of the purple power cleaner. Same with the little the float ball. Be careful, there's an O-ring right here. Take that off so you don't lose it, and put it aside. And also this gasket. Okay, my O-ring is off right there. The next thing, I'm going to take my 14mm again and loosen this this plunger. I'll take that out as well. There's a spring right here ready to be cleaned. See, there's still some dirt here, places I couldn't get when the stuff was all together. So I'm gonna go out, clean this out some more with the purple cleaner, and I'll be back showing you all the passages that you want to check and make sure that they're open. I got the body cleaned up. I'm happy with it. For cleaning the jets, the best thing that I found that is easy to available, you take any old regular wire brush. This one is pretty worn out, and you pull one of these guys out. Here we go. Perfect tool to clean clean your jets and any other openings. So now the ones we gotta look at are the ones where the jet goes. We just gonna blow some carburetor cleaner through and make sure they are open. This one here, it's important, it's for the acceleration pump. I'm gonna run the wire through there. Okay, then on the air filter side, you got this little opening right here. You want to make sure that one's clean. This one is a big hole, so there's no problem there. So I kind of do that first. I like using this this product. It's available in Walmart, auto parts stores. It's a good stuff. So what you want to do is put it in all these openings, spray, and just generally you want to see it coming out somewhere, as you can see here. Hard to show in the video, but you always feel it or see it coming out from another opening somewhere else. Then the other one is this one. That's an important one. That's for your acceleration pump. Acceleration pump nozzle, it's right in here. So when I spray in this hole, you should see it coming out. You see it coming out there. So we're good there. Here, this one, I'm just gonna spray over here. Over here, that should be coming out inside there. You see it. I'm gonna blow through everything, every hole that you took jets off. You see, it just came out from here. That's what you want to see. I'm gonna stop the video. I'm gonna blow through everything nice and clean and get back to you. Next, I'm gonna assembly back together my float bowl. I like to spray some of this carburetor cleaner on the paper towel. Wipe this stuff from any kind of residue of old gas. The gasket carefully, really by the book. If you have the time to order it, replace it. Sometimes you have to, because it will be so worn out that it could be leaking. This one doesn't look too bad. After I cleaned it up, I think I'll be fine. So it's a matter of what you're dealing with in your bike, and how much time you got and all that. This just goes right back in. Watch your spring. Kind of leave it like this, and put the carburetor, the float bowl, like upside down this way. Everything stays together. I'm gonna tighten it back up. Don't get into the habit saying I'm gonna tighten this later. Good chance you're gonna forget. My gasket back. This one still looks good. It's not all flattened up. My O-ring here. So this is ready to go back. I'm gonna put that aside for now. Okay, I got my solution over here. Okay, you're gonna pull that out. All your stuff, it's in here. I'm gonna wash everything out. Okay, dump them suckers out over here. And now I'm gonna take my wire and run it through all the jets. Blow this dry and use some carburetor cleaner. You see, you can use it won't hurt the rubber tip. The carburetor solution just takes all the residue of the old gas off. So I'm gonna dry this off, use my carburetor cleaner to wipe everything out nicely, and stop putting it back together. I like to wipe the rubber tip of the float needle with the carburetor cleaner. See all the residue and the black that came off out of it. Also right here, focus the camera a little bit. Okay, you see it right there moving. You gotta make sure this is moving like that. Sometimes when you take the carburetors apart, it's old, but you really need to replace this needle. This one looks pretty good, so I'm gonna leave it in. Next thing I want to do is clean the needle over here. You see it's dirty. Everything is kind of dirty. I think this bike had a water in the gas from sitting. You see, you wipe that off. Looks pretty good. Clean all this. Clean all the residue off of the diaphragm. It's just makes everything looks nice and fresh. Look at all that. Alright, it's pretty good. Next I want to do is replace this O-ring I was telling you about. Every time I see an assortment of O-rings somewhere for sale, I'm buying it, because there's never enough O-rings for these kind of jobs. Saves you a lot of time from ordering it at the dealer and waiting a week. So anyway, here's the old O-ring. I'm gonna try to match it up as good as I can. Alright, I found pretty good match. You see, it's just a little bit smaller diameter, but I already tested it. Feels good, so I'll put it right on in that groove. Put a WD-40 on it, just makes it pop in easier. So here we go, little WD-40. You'll feel it. If it's right, you'll feel it. You'll tighten that good. Alright, so next we're gonna do our float. When you look at, there's a metal tongue over here. The float needle has like a wire that got a slip on it like that, so it kind of just hangs. I like to put a little WD-40 on that tip, then put your pin back in and tighten this guy. Make sure it's seated nice and correctly into the groove. The next thing, I clean my my jets. I know they're all good, so I'm gonna put the idle jet back in. Then we got our little sleeve that we took off earlier. Then the jet goes in the middle. That would be our main jet. So one is just a plug, this one is the main jet. So don't mix them, otherwise the bike won't run. Before I put the plug in, I just want to mention, inside here you gotta make sure with your wire that you clean that up. The reason why they have a plug here, the fuel actually gets there from this side, and it goes in there. That's your choke jet. So anyway, just mentioning it to make sure that you clean that up right well. Don't leave anything hand tight saying I'm gonna tighten it later. Always do it right away, because you can forget. Most of the times the little metal tongue that is on your float's gonna just be straight, not bent up or down. I always look at the float and the needle, holding the carburetor upright and trying to see in which position the needle got closed. Now imagine the fuel probably only gonna reach until maybe quarter or third of that float. So you always want to have your carburetor about 3/4 of the float bowl, 3/4 of the way full. So when I look at it, I say, okay, it's close right here. I'm happy with it. Just this metal tip. If you see that it's bent significantly one way or the other, the float might be too low or too high. I'm gonna install the float bowl. I don't want to put it like this, because when I turn it, my gasket falls out. You know, you can use a little grease if you want to do it that way, to hold the gasket in position. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold the float bowl this way, and basically set the carburetor on from the top. So I know my gasket didn't move. See, I can put it back off, took it back off, and it's still in the right place. And lightly, now I can flip it holding it and tighten the bolts up. Okay, don't forget to retighten this this thing. I'm gonna take it out now because it turned around on me and I didn't realize it. This flat part needs to be on the outside. Swing around and okay, see it like this. So I'm gonna put my 10mm socket on top of it again, like when we were breaking it loose, and it should give me just enough room. All right. Next, we're gonna do the slider. Only goes in one way. Make sure it goes nice and easy. The needle's gotta go in this tube right there. So now you want to make sure this is seating nicely. If you have a stubborn one that doesn't want to stay in, it's very important that this doesn't get pinched. What you can use is it's a dab of a crazy glue, as crazy as it sounds, and you can put like 1, 2, 3, 4, just the tiny little dabs on it, and they'll hold your rubber in place. This one seems like it kind of folds right back in. Usually that's what happens. They kind of go right back the way they were. This here, the spring gotta sit nicely. Push it down. Make sure you don't have it backwards. Right here, this is supposed to be against this. Again, if it's gotta feel like it just went in right, you know, you'll feel it when it sits nicely. The next one, we got this little diaphragm we took off earlier. I'm gonna spray a little WD-40 on this this sliding part. It's kind of stuck in there earlier. Now we got our spring that goes on top, and then here I cleaned this passage. Make sure that's clean when you cleaning your parts. Align it again. Don't put it on backwards. This part's got to be against here. Hold it. Put a steady pressure on it with your thumb in the middle, and because it's a plastic cover, it could break if you try to pry it with one screw and tighten it down. I got these two wires to connect still. I'm gonna put a zip tie right here. The last thing is our choke cable. It just slides back in. Can tighten it by hand as far as it'll go, and with the 14mm. Okay, that's good. Okay, it's back together. The next thing I'm gonna do is bench test it. The reason why I do this is because many times I had an issue, carburetor was overflowing, leaking for some reason, and I had the bike back together. Now I had to take it all back apart. So fill my carburetor up. I like to let it sit for a while to make sure nothing is leaking. Even move it, kind of simulate the movement of the bike. This way I check my gasket on the float bowl that it's not leaking. The other thing we want to check is make sure that the acceleration pump is working. A little nozzle, we want to see it spraying. So let me reset here and I'll show you. Okay, we are on this side now. I'm turning the throttle here And you need to see this spraying just like that. It might take a few pumps to prime it, but this one works just fine. Okay, our carburetor's been sitting for half an hour. No leaks, everything looks fine. So it's ready to go back in the bike. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna have another video showing putting it back in the bike and getting the bike started. I hope it helped, and subscribe if you can.